Really? You're just gonna do that to me? Okay. Apparently Hobby wants to join. Say hi to Hobby. Yes. Story time. Oh yeah. Hey guys. Technically, I said in the last video that I was going to talk, or yeah, I was going to talk or base this video on my past. So, I lived with my father, mother, my older sister Rain, April, Autumn, and my younger sister August, plus me. That would be 7. So I technically lived with 7 people. At this point in my life, I was around 3 or 4, because that's usually when, you start gathering memory and your brain soaks up information. So it was difficult at the time to, logically get stuff through my head, just because me and my 3 older sisters were being abused. It wasn't technically my father's fault. In all honesty, he was a very bad alcoholic and he was very bipolar. And when I say abused, I mean thrown against walls, beaten with a bunch of belts, I mean throw down the steps. It was a scary time for me because I was young. I didn't understand much. I didn't know, why. And my father had serious depression. That's one of the main reasons why he was an alcoholic. He refused to take medication. He didn't want to do any of that. I'm not gonna say my mother or father's name just because for the sake of it. After a while, he slowly got more depressed, and it put him in a mental state where he couldn't control his actions, I guess. I don't really put blame on him that much. So we went out. I don't remember what it was for. This is what I remembered. We went out, to go do something, and then he stayed at home. And when we came back, we found something crazy. So we got back, and it was nice and quiet, because usually it wasn't quiet because he was always up in my bedroom, sitting on my bed, playing video games, as usual, or shouting because he wouldn't win a game or something. So since it was my room, I was gonna go up there anyway, and my mom told me to she said, go check on your father. And I said, okay. So I went up not expecting anything, and when I got there, he had committed suicide in my bedroom. He had shot himself in the head. It was everywhere, and it was a sight to see for a little girl around my age. After that, I didn't know because I was young. So I didn't shout, I didn't yell. I giggled because usually he's playing pranks on us like that. He would play dead because he was a really funny guy. It's just he had a lot of issues of his own. So I called down the steps and I said, Mommy, I think Dad's dead. So my mom sent up my older sister Rain to go see what I was talking about, because I usually joke around or play along like that, and I didn't understand why, but when she came up, she screamed her head off, and then she just burst out in tears, and then my mom came upstairs and started screaming, and then she covered my eyes and picked me up, and she ran with me downstairs, almost falling, and then Rain was running behind us, and then Rain because my two other sisters, Autumn and April, they're older than me, and they were sitting on the couch not expecting anything. And then after that, we went downstairs, and once we went downstairs, we had to get Autumn and April and August. Autumn and April are older than me, and as well as Rain, and August is younger. August is the youngest. I'm the second youngest. So it was first April with August, and then Autumn, and then me and my mom, and then Rain. We ended up going to my mom's best friend's house, which was our neighbor, Macy. She was really cool. She had a lot of pets and really cute dogs. I guess I liked it. We stayed there until the cops got there, and the cops investigated and then found out that it was suicide, and then they pronounced him dead at the scene. We eventually ended up going to the viewing. I remember seeing my stepbrother for the first time. His name is, not gonna say his name just because. Yeah, but when I saw him, he looked a lot like my father. Not even gonna lie. The bald head, the hats, it was so cool. It was like seeing a little mini me of my father. So we ended up getting my furniture moved out and thrown out, and then we got the whole room redone. We had to get it repainted, and everything that was in the room, it had to be taken for evidence and stuff like that, and for like investigating. I don't know why, because they said that it was suicide, so oh god. And then my mom got another boyfriend. His name was Mike, and he wasn't as bad as my father, but yet again, still had some of the same issues like depression, and he was bipolar, but he was on medication, so he was able to control it a bit more. So there was a time where this was right before we went into foster care, so he thought that my mom was sleeping with another guy, and she wasn't. And his reaction was crazy. He ended up taking a metal bat and smashing the guy's head in with the metal bat, and tearing his pinky. And I didn't know anything, but I did hear a scream from my mom, because my mom slept in the attic of the house, and then I slept in the second floor, and then my sisters slept in the room next to me down the hall, in the second floor. So after I heard the scream, I expected, my mom to like drop something, because like when my mom were to drop something, she would get very scared. She's like that. So I see him running down the steps and running past my bed, and I didn't see the wounds, but I did see a trail of blood on the corner of my bed as he ran past. So I guess that was an excitement. My initial reaction was, after he ran past, I ran right up the stairs up to my mom's room, and I saw him holding a bloody bat, and my mom shaking it with fear. And then my mom quickly got up and grabbed me and pulled me over to her bed, and she sat me down, holding me in her arms. And my sisters heard it as well, so they ended up coming up and checking on, everything that was going on. And then after that second incident, CYS was called, and our case was first opened. After they first opened the case. After they first opened the case, they ended up investigating our house just to see of any evidence that we were being abused at the time. Because even after my father died, we were still abused, but not as bad. So eventually we were taken into the custody of our foster mom. I'm not gonna say her name just because I remember I cried all day. I would scream and cry, I want my mommy. It only lasted for like, I think it was around like 2 years that we were in that home, the same home. The lady was generous enough to take all five of me and my sisters. She was very nice. She was a good cook. But eventually, my grandmother got money from her sister, my great aunt. Her name was Linda. I'm gonna say that because she was so nice and she loved us to death. She didn't want to, watch us suffer anymore, so she ended up giving up $5,000 of her own money to my grandma so my grandma could get us out of there. So we did end up getting into the custody of my grandmother. That's where I am now. But eventually, the lady who, my grandmother's sister ended up getting pneumonia. She got pneumonia because she was a really heavy smoker after her husband died of pneumonia. What a coincidence. I remember she had the choice whether or not she wanted to stay on the lifeline, like stay on the machine, and she chose because she didn't want to fight anymore. She knew that it wouldn't last anyway. It would only last like a few more months. So she said, yeah, just cut it. Might as well. I remember going to your funeral and I held her hand. I remember I tried not to cry so hard, but it didn't work. My older sister April didn't want me to cry because if I were to start crying, she would start crying. So, and then I grew up. Got a little bit older, but just last year, this is just a little quick story from, last year. It was last year, but I guess you could sort of say this year because it was in, the middle of the year, but it's a new year, so. I was walking to school, and I see a kitten in the road, and it looked like it already had been hit by a car. I look both ways, I don't really see a car, so I step out in the middle of the road to go pick up the kitten. I grab the kitten and a car comes zooming and hits me on my side and I go flying, but like right before I hit the ground, I like sort of like went like that to the kitten, so like it sort of like rolled forward. So then I think the kitten's okay, probably dead because it's a stray. And there's not really, yeah. So I ended up going to the hospital. I didn't have any broken bones. I only had a sprained ankle and a ton of bruising. And that's not even the last story I have out of, sort of this year. My family had gotten into a fight, so me and my 4 sisters went out to the porch to cool off, and this was last summer, sort of. So we went out onto the porch, and I forgot because my porch, this house is pretty old, as you can see. We're painting everywhere. We're redoing the lights. We're getting everything fixed, as you can see. We're getting stuff done. So I forgot that a part of the railing was gone, so I went to go lean back on it, and then my porch is pretty high. It's like 5 foot. It was a 5-foot drop. So I leaned back, and then as I was falling, I was lucky that I didn't crack my head open on the brick that was at the bottom, separating the grass from the garden. So I leaned back on it, and then I start falling backwards, and then I like reach for the railing that's like on the side right next to the gap, and there was a nail sticking out of it, and it sliced my hand open in like a little V shape. It's not really too big. See? So I ended up getting 13 stitches, and it wasn't really too bad. It did get infected once, but that was only because one of the stitches popped. And I guess that's what happened this year. I didn't really have much going on. And I guess that's it for this video. Stay safe, stay home, keep your masks on, Black Lives Matter, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.